Hey everyone, welcome to my video on if-else statement. I'll be explaining what the if-else statement can do, its programming limitations and advantages through my final project. I will show you a couple of branching statements in my final project, and hopefully you guys will be able to make sense of it and appreciate the function of the if-else statement. So let's begin. At this point in my battle algorithm, for every duelist in my roster, I have selected a series of optimal targets. And if that's the case, then the optimal target visible boolean will be set to true. And if that's not the case, then I will have at least selected a group of targets. And if that's the case, then target visible will be set to true. Now, sometimes that's actually not the case. Sometimes neither of those things will be true, in which case nothing actually executes here. And I will check for it immediately after that with a second if branch right here, saying if the duelist is alive and there is no target, then I'll set to guarding. But let's look at the first half of that first. So if there is an optimal target visible, then what I will do is I will generate a random number between 0 and the end of the array that the optimal targets are in, and I'll set my target, which is sort of like the targeting system, the reticle, the duelist reticle, to a random opponent within the optimal targets list. This is if optimal target visible is true. And after that, I'll make it so that the duelist and the target can see each other through a .setOpponent, which is a method that I built for this purpose. And then immediately after that, I'll resolve combat and in the same statement print the line. Now, if that is not the case, if optimal target visible is not true, then it goes to if target visible, and if there is a target, then it does the exact same thing with a list of targets. So this demonstrates that, and to note, there is no else statement at the very end of that. There's just an if and an else if, which means that I'm sort of catching, quote-unquote, the potential that neither is true with this statement. It's almost acting as if an exception would. But here, let me put it this way. There are two potential decisions to be made here. One is whether you're going to guard, right here, and the other is if you're going to attack. And this series of branching statements helps me make that decision on who to attack, from which list, and if that's not going to be the case, whether I'm going to guard or not, which is always going to be true because of that statement. All right, I'll show you another example of it right now. Here, let's find a good example. There we go. Here's a nice little nested statement. This is built into the no parameter constructor of my duelist class, which I actually went over in, I believe, my loops video for the series of while loops. But first I'll check whether the opponent, sorry, my bad. I'll check whether the user has entered an alphabetic character to select which stat boost they want to choose: life, power, speed, armor, or resistance. And if the character is alphabetic, then it kicks into another loop, which starts off, not another branching statement. Before any of the second branching statement goes off, I will convert the character that the user entered to uppercase, and then if the primary character that they enter equals the character L, uppercase, then I'll set life up by 20. If it's P, then I'll set power up by 20, S, speed, A, armor, and R, resistance. Now, I could be accomplishing this with switch case, but I personally like using an if, else, if statement here just to streamline it visually for myself. And at the very end, if none of those cases is true, but it's still alphabetical, then it gives you the invalid input try again. To note, if the character that's entered is not alphabetic, then it'll kick to a second else with that exact same input. I believe that successfully details what exactly an if statement and else if statements are, and I've given you a sense of their purpose. They're used to make decisions, and sometimes very complex decisions, over the course of a program, and they're especially good for filtering Boolean data. This was my video on if, else, and else if statements, and I hope to talk to you soon. Take care.